Ooh, we are back with a nice, good follow-up from the band Slipknot. Ooh, we are not your kind. What's going on, ladies and gents in Cyberland? Coming back to another album review, and ooh, I'm so excited about this one. Slipknot's 6th album. We are not your kind. So, after their 5th album, Slipknot, of course, took a break, and it left people like me, a lot of the fans, in a perspective that this was good. If nothing comes after this album, it's okay. Like, we felt like they can continue, but if they don't, it's alright because of what they didn't leave for most of us, they didn't leave a bad taste in our mouth like what happened. All hope was gone. So the band gets back together, starts working, and they come out with a song called All Out Life. And the video was like, yeah, whatever. But the song, right when I heard it, I was like, if this is any indication, I'm really excited for this album. Because it was the first time I had heard Corey call out the music industry, just the music industry in general. Because Kari has been very vocal before when he says shit in a tweet or like a video. But for him to put in the music, besides, I know he had said it before in Heretic Anthem, but this is the first time where it was literally in your face, like it wasn't a metaphor. And I was excited because he was speaking to me like the mindset of music at this time was that if it's new, it's good. If it's old, it's trash. If it's not making money, it's trash. If it's making money, it's good. I'm like, man, fuck that shit. And this was just like the anthem at the time when I heard it for that year, because I was just like, this is perfect because the mindset of music had just gone down the fucking toilet. And it wasn't just hip hop, it was rock too. There was just so many bands were just like, what is this, man? It was just watered down. It didn't feel like there was any aggressiveness. It didn't feel like it just wasn't hitting like at all. It was like you had too many, and I think I said this before, but you just had too many bands trying to break into the hip-hop community and try to make music like that. And I'm like, this shit sucks. Like, there's nothing wrong with having hip-hop elements, but come on, man. Like, where is the fucking drums and the guitar? Like, where are what encompasses a rock band? Where are those instruments? And you just had so many groups like just having keyboards and shit and maybe a drum set. And I was just like, what is this shit? And it was very disappointing. And it was just kind of like, you know what? This is not for me. These bands are not the bands I would even consider listening to even when I first got into rock music. Like, these are not rock bands. They can call themselves that, but they're not. They're not pop bands, pop groups per se, but they're not rock bands at all. And some people say, well, rock is not just guitar. I'm like, no, yes it is. Rock music encompasses a fucking guitar. Now, whether you want to listen to a guitar or not in rock music, that's your per se. But where I come from, and me being a musician, rock music has a fucking guitar. And not a guitar where you can't hear it. Where everything's turned down and the only time you can hear is if they're playing live, but when you hear it on the album, you don't hear it. and all you hear is fucking keyboards and shit. That is not rock and roll. It's music, but it ain't rock music. You can call it something else, but it ain't that. And I don't mean to go on a rant because I need to get to Slipknot about this, but it was just so nice that Corey at that Slipknot, Corey had written those lyrics, but they had put out this song, because I was just like, yeah, just like, fuck the music trends right now. They're just terrible, especially for rock music. Hip hop already has its problems, but the rock at the time, just in general, was just not very good. So, moving a couple months forward, the album's almost getting finished, or they're working on it, and then unfortunately, the percussionist Chris Fink gets kicked out of the band. I guess there was some drama that he wasn't being compensated fairly, and he was suing. They fired him, and anyway, it was the guy with the long nose for the mask. Unfortunately, he's not in the band anymore. So, moving forward, we see the new mask, and we now see a new member where everybody's like, who is that? And everybody's trying to figure out who it is. I still don't know to this day who the hell it is, but whatever. And then this one was more, this album was more like tight-lived, like they were really trying to keep this thing quiet, like in regards to how many tracks. Like, they weren't releasing songs from this album for you to listen to until the album came out. And then when Unsainted dropped, it was just like, whoa. Like, welcome back, boys. It gave the vibe of Iowa, when Iowa came out. When they first came out with the single Left Behind, and then Duality. It was that same vibe again. Like, welcome back, boys. It just gave that. With the video and the band coming back into the fold, and I was excited. I don't like to call myself a maggot or anything like that. I just love Slipknot. I like their music. And when the album dropped, I was like, boom! But even before that, I fired it, and it was amazing. From top to finish, or top to bottom. It's a great album. My rating for this album is a 5 out of 5, yes sirs. And the reason why I give it such a high rating is because the band didn't forget who they were, but they incorporated new elements, and they did it very, very well. There's not one song on this album I don't like. There's not one track I was kind of like, Everything hit, from every single track hit for me. And they still have stuff to say. Nothing really changed with what they represent and who they are. It's just it was a thing of, we never went anywhere. We're not gone. We still have more to do, and we're gonna show these other bands what fucking time it is. And it was kind of like one of those things where Metallica I think Metallica had already come up with Hardwired, but it was just Slipknot saying we're back and this is our throne. We run this shit, and step aside. And they did it great. My top 5 tracks. It's funny, when I first listened to the album, Birth of the Cruel was my favorite track, but now Nero. Let me make sure I say that right, because I was like Nero. Nero Forte is my favorite track. I love that track because it's like Slipknot's debut with some new stuff in it. But the way Corey is just rapping the lyrics and stuff, I love it. Unsainted, Spiders is the most. It is the most different song that they've ever come out with, in my opinion, and I love it. The lyrics are dark as hell, but it reminds me of 9 Inch Nails. That's the feeling I get when I listen to it all the time. It's one of my favorite tracks. It's just so different, and it's fun. It's dark, but it's just saying that we can do other things. It's not an acoustic or anything. It's just the way it's done with the music. Soloway Firth, great finisher, and that song was just, I think the very beginning is the way it finishes the album, and just how it goes is just a great track. And then Birth of the Cruel, because I still love that song. Honorable mention, All Out Life. Because All Out Life speaks to me very dearly. And then also it says, We Are Not Your Kind. Lo and behold, it's technically part of this album. It's the bonus track. But the album is We Are Not Your Kind. So I would not say listen to this album first. I still wouldn't say. I said either Volume 3 or the first album. But I will say that it is better than the fourth album, All Hope Is Gone, and The Great Chapter for sure. Now, how you want to rank it is your thing, but it's a great album. It's one of my favorite albums by Slipknot. You will not be disappointed because it's got something for everybody that likes metal and rock. I would say in that way. So with that being said, let's cue the music.